Hello and welcome to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside head coach Tyrice Grice of the West Bloomfield Lakers, coming off a great performance against Sterling Heights Stevenson, 47-7 victory over the Titans at the Zenith Prep Kickoff Classic. Your overall thoughts coming out of that game on the performance of your guys in week one?
Overall, I told the players, I think if I had to grade them, I'd give a B-. And I say that because we didn't do well in the running game as well as I expected. The plus side of that game, our offensive line blocked well in the passing area, but some things in the running area I felt we need to improve on. So overall, I would give ourselves a B-, probably a little hard on ourselves than normal. But one of the things I really that we appreciated in this game was the no turnovers. That's a big key issue, and we only had 2 penalties the whole game, whereas last year we probably average 8 to 10 penalties a game. So this was something that we pushed all off season. We worked on. We brought in referees as well to help us in that area because we believe we can cut down our penalties and cut down our turnovers. Only one can stop us is us.
It was a really interesting performance for a week one game for this team because in the past, even the championship team, we had seen some of those early season issues pop up with the discipline, illegal procedure calls, false start, offside, those kinds of penalties, even some frustration penalties early on in the game, especially against a team that's as formidable of a program as Sterling Heights Stevenson. And coming into this game, or out of this game, it was really great to see the Lakers, like you said, only 2 penalties the whole game, and guys were really playing hard from the jump. How indicative is that of this year's team for the Lakers?
Well, we know in the past we always started off slow. In fact, the 2017 team that went to Ford Field, we lost the first 2 games. And I think I contribute that to how we prepared going into the season this time around, where our offensive line and our running backs and quarterback work together in sync in the offseason, and same with the defensive side of the ball. So one of the things we wanted to accomplish this year is get as much stuff installed before the first game, and then number one, really focus on the penalties and really focus on the discipline side of the ball. That was something that that was intentional, and it showed in the first game.
We're joined by head coach Tyrice Grice. The Lakers coming off a 47-7 victory against the Sterling Heights Stevenson Titans out of the MAC Red in their opener at Wayne State University for the Zenith Prep Kickoff Classic. It was a breakout game for a few guys, in particular Deonte Pippen coming in as wide receiver number 2 this year in your receiving core. Having seen him get some reps in the past few years, kind of down the depth chart, and then coming into this game and really having a huge game in the wide receiver core alongside Samaj Morgan. Should we be surprised that Deonte Pippen came out of the jump like that and had such a great game against a really formidable secondary for the Titans?
Well, as a coaching staff, as a program, we knew once Deonte put it all together, he could be special. And it took him he had a great offseason. I think the confidence in him this year really showed in the offseason and during practice. So his commitment to getting better, catching the ball better, and running better routes it showed on the football field. But he one of the fastest guys in the state, one of the fastest guys on our football team. So it's about getting him the ball and let him make plays.
Defensively, your guys were getting after it all game long. I think about the physicality of the front 7 in particular, laying the wood into these guys, making big tackles. And I think about that one play with Kari Jackson. It was the longest single play offensively for the Titans the whole game, and he's just rushing down the field. He chases down, along with another one of your players, chases down the receiver down to the 1-yard line, prevents a touchdown. Even that's a big give for your defense. How important is it for you guys to be making those plays, especially your upperclassmen, to be making those plays as an example for how hard you have to play all game long, every game?
Well, the trademark and what we pride ourselves is pursuing to the ball. We do pursuit drills every day in practice, and it's all about getting to the ball. So when you see those guys hawk the guy down, the Stevenson player at the 1-yard line, we do. That's because we do a lot of formation recognitions, and we tell our corners, you got if you see a ball going, you got to get down there, and the guy made the play at the 1-yard line, which is tremendous pursuit.
Seeing that improvement, too, on the offensive side from your leadership from Rick Nance, 13 for 23 in this game, ran for a touchdown, threw for 2 touchdowns, had much better command of this offense, it seemed, than a year ago. Speak to his improvement, particularly how that had an impact on your receiving core.
Well, Rick is really mature this year. I think he's took his game to another level. He sees the game different now compared to last year, and the game has slowed down for him. So he's taking more of an initiative in terms of taking a leadership role when he's out there. He's commanding the offense, and he does it in practice. So I think you can see the maturity from him going from his sophomore year to his junior year, where he's want to get everybody involved, and I think he wants to lead the team to a state championship. And right now, that's the attitude and mindset that Rick Nance has.
One of the benefits of a game that's that lopsided on the scoreboard is, especially later on, you're able to see some of those guys down the depth chart get some playing time, get some experience. And what was great about this particular game is that Stevenson ended up keeping a lot of their first-team guys in for a lot of that play. So they're getting first-team reps on the defensive side of the ball. How important is that early in the season to see some of those guys out there? And for you as a coaching staff, when you see some of those guys perform, how does that modify the way you approach game plans going forward, maybe getting some more guys involved early on in the season?
Yes. Well, depth is everything. That's important if you're going to go all the way to for a field. If someone go down, that next person has to step up. And for that next person to gain some experience and gain experience against the ones, we feel that at the end of the day, if you're out there, we're not going to worry. You're going to get the job done. So that's very important that and it brings back the brotherhood. It brings back team. When everyone plays and everyone eats and get an opportunity, those Mondays practice be high energy because players had a chance to play.
We're joined by Tyrice Grice, head coach of the West Bloomfield Lakers, on This Week in Laker Football, coming off a 47-7 victory over Sterling Heights Stevenson. Coach, your lasting thoughts from the first game of the season in that big win over Stevenson?
I just think that it's all about taking one game at a time. That game is behind us. Our focus right now is on Harper Woods, and today we're going to prepare for them and get ready for that team, get ready for next week.
Coach, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. We'll come back with Coach in just a little bit. 47-7 victory over Sterling Heights Stevenson. The next matchup is coming up this Friday at the Swamp, the home opener against the Harper Woods Pioneers. You'll find that game on Civic Center TV and all across our network on 89.3 Lakes FM on the radio. And you can find all those details, civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk to a couple of players, and then we'll preview this week's game against Harper Woods with head coach Tyrice Grice. You're watching and listening to This Week in Laker Football.
35 to go until halftime. Nance all alone, good protection. Throws the ball way downfield, got a receiver. Samaj Morgan somehow goes up, gets the ball, completion at the 40-yard line.
Fire Prevention Week is just around the corner. Join volunteer, part-time, and on-call firefighters at this year's Fire Open House. Catch up on your fire safety knowledge with live demonstrations and hands-on activities. Chat with local businesses and resources about fire prevention, see some familiar faces, fight future fires, and make some new friends. The West Bloomfield Fire Open House, October 2nd from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road. Mark your calendars for the 11th Annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/family fun night.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield linebacker Kari Jackson, a junior, returning to the Lakers this year after a year in Florida at the IMG Academy. For you, what brought you back to West Bloomfield after a year in Florida?
I would say what brought me back was just the tradition that we have here and my family and friends, and I call my brothers my family, so that includes my coaches and different teammates that I have there, so I consider them family. So I felt like the best move for me was to come back home, somewhere where I'm comfortable and have the best opportunity for stuff upcoming in the future. I feel like IMG at that moment wasn't the place for me to be the best I could be in the future, so I came back home to where I knew that would be possible for me.
Yeah, part of a really three-headed monster at the second level for the Lakers this year with that linebacking core, and it showed in that first game against Sterling Heights Stevenson. You went out there and you played hard. I think about the one play where they really got the jump on the Lakers in the receiving game, and you ran pretty much from 40 yards out to help take that guy down at the 1 yard line. How indicative is that of your style of play, and what makes you a special linebacker?
I think what makes me special is just my hard work and determination. I feel like that translates on the field. I felt like it was a play that, even though it was probably 20, 30 yards down the field, I got back on my horse and tried to go catch it down. It's just the Laker mentality. So basically I just feel like that's one of my key attributes. I just hard work, and I play hard every play and go 100%, 110%. So that was what went into that play. So even though people thought I might not have had a chance, but we ended up catching them at the one. But we got to finish as a defense to prevent them from scoring. But you know what I'm saying, that's one of the things that people don't do, is chasing the ball down and having a possibility to get another down, another chance to stop them from scoring. That's what I was able to do by doing that. So that's just my mentality, doing 110%, even if I don't have a chance or might not have a chance, but I'm going to find a way to do it.
Laker linebacker Kari Jackson joins us on This Week in Laker Football, a junior at the linebacker position, one of 3 starting linebackers for the Lakers this year. Returning player, you got some experience with these guys in the past, particularly Rock at the linebacker coming back this year as that senior leader in the linebacking core, the only returning starter for that front 3 at the second level. But you having that experience in the past, coming back, knowing the culture of this team, and being able to bring some of the younger guys up, particularly I think of Montel Johnson joining you in that core, how important is it for you and Rock to really work together to bring this front 7 up to the standard of this program, and by doing that, help your team win games?
I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, leadership, we're both captains on the team, so I think that's our job and that's our duty to bring up the guys that are next to us and around us, even the guys that are behind us that are twos or might not start. And it's all about everybody as a whole, because if I go down, someone has to step up and play. So the game's going to continue to be played, whether it's the 2s in, 3s in, or whatever. So everybody, that's what we preach in practice. Everybody needs to be on the same page and be focused. So that's what we preach every day in practice, and that's how I lead my defense. So everybody has to be on the same page, work the same amount, and get the same amount of plays. I feel like everybody's equal and everybody's even on our team, so we treat them and hold everybody to the same standard, because you never know when you're going to need somebody to lean on in those crunch times, or people go down, people get hurt down the line during the season. So we preach that to everybody, no matter the position, no matter the depth chart position that they have. We always preach that we always have to be together and play as a unit and be on the same level, whether you're on the field or off the field. So that's the biggest thing we preach.
Coming out in this game, you prevent Sterling Heights Stevenson from scoring more than 7 points. They score in the first quarter, and then from there, your team goes on a 41-0 run. That's a big defensive performance for Week 1. We talked with Coach Grice about this also. The discipline on all 3 phases for this team was vastly improved from years past, especially early in the season, but really overall. As you guys are chasing a championship this year, as you know you're going up against a very competitive group of teams, having that early season fire in you and playing with that fire every single week, when you preach to the younger guys, knowing what it takes to get far into playoffs and win state championships?
I think that's the biggest thing is, like you said, you mentioned that fire and that tenacity. And I feel like Stevenson, we played a good game, but we went back and watched the film. There's a lot of things we got to correct and a lot of things we got to fix up to be prepared for this Friday. So it's never enough, and that's my mentality. That's why I try to give to the defense. That's never enough. We can always be better, something always to improve on. So we always take the negative stuff out of Stevenson and wash away the positive, because that's what we want to fix. The negative things, the things that we can work on, because at the end of the day, we're trying to be perfect as a defense. So that's what I want to maintain, that perfect mentality, and that is never enough. There's always more to be done. So we're not going to get comfortable. We're not going to lay back during the season, and that's one of the things I felt like last year happened, even though I wasn't here, but that's one of the things I heard, that we were laid back and kind of got comfortable based on the championship they won the previous year, but I don't want that to happen this year. So we're going to always stay on the edge of our seats and be ready for the next game and work on things and improve and be the best we can, and nothing's ever going to be enough for us. So 7 points was too much, and so we're coming out this week and trying to get it done. So
And they've done that a lot in the past. The championship year, they held several teams consecutively scoreless on their way to a state championship in 2020. Kari, before we let you go, we know that you have aspirations to play at the next level, and we always like to get to know some of the players beyond what we see on the field. So in terms of football, when you're looking at the next level, you're looking at the college level, even at the NFL level, past and present, who are some of those players that you've always kind of looked up to and not necessarily modeled your game after, but really set your goals as, I want to be kind of like that someday?
My leading person I looked up to ever since I was younger, first started playing football, Ray Lewis. That was always my number one player. I always looked at and tried to model my game after, and still do, even more than him just on the field, off the field, his mentality and his belief in God. That's what I try to model my play off of, and that's one of the guys I always looked up to. I watch the film to this day, before games, before practice, and just trying to up my game and take some of those things that he used in his game to be so great and implement in my game even this early. So that's one of the guys I look up to the most.
Hard-hitting, ferocious linebacker, had a long career, successful career, both at Miami, playing in the college level, and, of course, at the NFL, multiple Super Bowls with the Baltimore Ravens. And you kind of took that under your wing, and so did your linebacker core against Sterling Heights Stevenson, denting that armor for the Titans in Game 1. Kari, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Take a break. We'll come back with more on This Week in Laker Football. We'll talk to another player, and then we'll preview this upcoming home opener for the Lakers against Harper Woods coming up on Friday. You're watching This Week in Laker Football.
Here is the handoff in the sweep, and a nice job by West Bloomfield to pick up that run. And Kari Jackson coming up with a big tackle.
West Bloomfield Lakers football is back on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM and statewide on My Michigan TV. Join our team for coverage as the Lakers battle Division I juggernauts like Sterling Heights Stevenson, Clarkston, Utica Eisenhower, and a 2021 playoff rematch with Rochester Adams. Every week, every game, every snap on Civic Center TV, My Michigan TV, 89.3 Lakes FM, and lakesfm.com.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside West Bloomfield Lakers wide receiver Deonte Pippen. Deonte, a big game in Week 1 for you, really a coming out party, and as you're now in the first string of the depth chart for the Lakers. How much of a confidence boost is it to come out and the starting role this year and have that big of a game, getting over the century mark in Week 1, especially in that environment?
Yeah, it felt good. It just felt real good coming out. It's like I can do that before, but nobody really seen it, so I'm just real happy to show what I can do, and yeah.
Talk about your relationship with Rick Nance, having played with him for a couple of years, him in the starting role at the quarterback, you in a position where you were coming up the depth chart a year ago, getting plenty of touches, but now being one of those primary guys for him in this 2022 season.
Yeah, me and Rick, that's my boy. We played JV together also, so me and him, we have a strong connection, and we still just getting better from here.
One of the things we noticed about you in Week 1 that I think everyone was put on notice at the statewide level was your speed. In terms of your game, what do you believe is your greatest strong suit beyond your speed that makes you such a formidable and really tough receiver to deal with for any secondary?
I feel like one of my strong attributes is like catching the traffic. So this season I want to show that too. I want to show my catching traffic, and yeah.
We're joined by Deonte Pippen, West Bloomfield Lakers wide receiver on This Week in Laker Football. You can watch him and the whole team this Friday against Harper Woods at the Swamp, 7 p.m. kickoff, 6:30 pregame. CivicCenterTV.com/LakerSports for all that information. 3 receptions, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. You went yard a couple of times, including an 87-yard touchdown early on in that game. Playing in that environment, let's just talk to that. You're in a college environment. I'm sure you have aspirations to continue to play football. Should that opportunity be there for you? And I think after this game, it's probably looking a lot brighter than it ever has. Playing in that environment with these guys and that kind of competition, how does that, for you, kind of warm you up to this season and really get you hyped for some really competitive football coming up?
I'm excited. It boosts my confidence a lot, being in front of everybody like that and playing on a college campus also. So, yeah, it really boosts my confidence, and I'm just ready to play.
Talking about this receiver core and how it sort of has this veteran leadership to it, especially at the top with you and Samaj, some of the other guys that have been on this team for a while, and what you say to some of the younger guys coming up about what they need to do to be great Laker wide receivers with long-standing success like you and Samaj and other guys in this core have had.
I just tell them every day, keep working, just look up, just follow what we do, just try to be better than this.
We're joined by Deonte Pippen, West Bloomfield Lakers wide receiver on This Week in Laker Football. Deonte, let's get to know you outside of the game of football. When you're not working in the weight room or on the gridiron with your teams, what are some of the things that you enjoy outside of being a Laker football player?
I like bowling a lot. Yeah, I like bowling. I like fishing too. Yeah, I like going out shopping.
What's your highest score in bowling?
255. Best bowler.
Hey, you know, that's almost double, I would say, my biggest score. I don't exactly remember the number definitively, but I know it was far lower than 255. So Deonte, as we go forward this season, what are some of your overall goals for the 2022 season on a personal level and, of course, on a team-wide level?
Some goals, I don't know. I just want to do big things. I just want to get a lot of catches, a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns. I want a ring on my finger too. So I'm just ready to have a big year. I'm excited.
We're shooting this in the hallway outside the gymnasium at West Bloomfield High School, or just across the way. He can see it himself, those championship trophies for the Lakers, including the 2020 state championship trophy. Deonte, anything else you'd like to say to our audience about this team this year, the upcoming game against Harper Woods?
We got a lot of dogs on our team, so it's going to be hard to stop one person on our team, definitely.
Speed, toughness, physicality. This Laker team is coming for some bodies this year, and they're going to be a tough team to beat. Deonte, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break on This Week in Laker Football. When we come back, we'll preview this upcoming game this week, the home opener at the Swamp against the Harper Woods Pioneers with head coach Tyrice Grice. That's coming up. Don't go away. You're watching This Week in Laker Football.
All alone in the backfield, getting good protection. Screen pass to the far side, complete at the 10, to 15, to 20, 25, 30, 40.
Bye-bye.
Lakers are going to take this one all the way down. Is that Samaj again? No. That time it's Pippen again. He is so fast. And the screen, he ran by everybody. And where was this guy last year?
Fire Prevention Week is just around the corner. Join volunteer, part-time, and on-call firefighters at this year's Fire Open House. Catch up on your fire safety knowledge with live demonstrations and hands-on activities. Chat with local businesses and resources about fire prevention, see some familiar faces, fight future fires, and make some new friends. The West Bloomfield Fire Open House, October 2nd from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road. Mark your calendars for the 11th Annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/family fun night.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football. I'm Tyler Kieft alongside head coach Tyrice Grice for the West Bloomfield Lakers. 1-0 coming into the home opener at the Swamp on Friday against the Harper Woods Pioneers, a new team here in the OAA Red, but a team that's had quite a lot of success in past seasons, 7-3 a year ago, and coming into the OAA this year. What do we know already about Harper Woods? What should the audience know about this team coming into West Bloomfield on Friday?
Well, you know, they didn't play the first game last week. They forfeited, so we haven't had it. They didn't forfeit, but their opponent did. So we didn't receive enough information on them. But we do know, based on our resources, and we were able to get some film, that they lost a lot of players from last year's team. They're replacing a lot of they're going to have a lot of first-year starters on varsity, but they're a talented team. So they got some good receivers that like to go deep. They run a lot of spread offense. So what we see so far is something that we're familiar with, that we built for the spread. So it's a different system that they used last year, where they run a lot of what we call trips and empty sets, and now they run a lot of tight ends. So defensively, we see similar to what we look like defensively in terms of their package, but which is probably a plus for us, so something that we've been prepared for because we run the same similar defense. But I just think if we come out and execute our game plan and welcome the Harper Woods into the OAA with a victory, so on our end. So hopefully this game will be, like we say, we take one game at a time, and our focus all this week is about preparing for Harper Woods.
Yeah, 3 offensive starters returning for the Pioneers, 5 on the defensive side overall, 34 returning players to their roster this season, but only 8 total starters coming back for Harper Woods as they enter the OAA Red. That being said, the bulk of that returning veteran leadership is on the defensive side of the ball, and in particular, you said it coming out of week 1, one of the areas you want your team to improve on offensively is effectiveness in the run game. What does your team need to improve on at all parts of their offense, from the line back to the running backs, in order to make that jump in week 2?
I just think the offensive line need to stay on their block, sustain their block a little bit longer. They tend to last week they let go too soon to get to the next level. And most importantly, knowing your assignment. If we can correct those 2 areas, I think we'll be able to run the ball against this team.
So taking that into consideration, the first thing you said about the O-line, kind of getting off of their blocks a little bit early, what do you attest that to, having talked to your O-line, having talked to your coaching staff, about what may be some of the reasons behind you guys doing that? And maybe getting excited about a play opening up or an opportunity. Where does that really come from?
As an individual, it's about being consistent, because you can see some plays on film where they do sustain the block, and then you'll see a couple plays where they let go too soon. So it's just about the individual knowing that what he has to control that guy a little bit longer than usual before he get up to the next level, because getting to the next level is getting to the linebacker. So we do what we call combo blocks, and one of the guys got to get to the next level, the linebacker. So we just got to do a better job in that area working on combo blocks, and we're going to spend a little extra time in practice this week to make sure guys emphasize that in practice, the combo blocks in practice.
We hear so much about guys like Samaj Morgan and Rick Nance and their ability to change the game from the skill positions. Let's talk about Amir Herring on the offensive line. You talk about that leadership, that individual gameplay on the O-line, having a key role in the effectiveness of the offense and run and the pass game. Talk about his leadership and how, in particular, these guys coming up to the O-line in the first string, and even those younger guys on the varsity squad, the impact that Amir Herring has on their game and therefore on the entire offense where it starts from the line.
Well, Amir is definitely a great leader for us. He's a 2-year captain, his 2nd year being a captain for the program, so he knows what to expect. One of the things that Amir does a good job as communicating with offensive line, work with some of the guys that need some help from an individual standpoint. So he should have definitely showed that leadership quality. I think in terms of him on the field and how he dominates his position, we all know that, and we're going to really run behind him if we can. But he's a guy that we expect him to take charge of the offensive line. One thing I like about Amir is, let's say a offensive line coach don't show up that day, or is he late, you can see Amir say, I got the line, I'm going to go ahead and work on the drills and techniques. So that's a guy that's stepped up his game this year to be one of our leaders.
You mentioned earlier that Harper Woods, having not played their first game, their opponent had forfeit the game. You don't really have a whole lot of film on them from this particular team in this iteration, but you have some research from what you know from the past and other people that have gone up against this team in the past. So as a team, as you're preparing for that game with very little film, if any, or just intel from other contacts you have in high school football, how do you approach that at a team-wide level when you don't exactly know a whole lot about your opponent?
Well, a lot of times you got to see who the offensive coordinator is, and usually offensive coordinators don't change their system much. And so we try to look at is he the same offensive coordinator? If he is, we can go back and watch a lot of the old films and see how he liked to run his game, what he liked to do on certain downs and distance. So that's critical as well. Was he spread teams, a power team? But just going back and looking at some of the games that he coached in, we try to look at that and say, hey, this is what we expected him to do this week.
We line up against Harper Woods, 7 o'clock at the Swamp on Friday, and of course live on Civic Center TV and Lakes FM. CivicCenterTV.com/LakersSports to find all that information. Coach, before we let you go, your biggest keys to this particular game against Harper Woods, what do you want to see improved overall from your Lakers squad?
I established the running game in this league. If you can't run the ball, you're only going to go so far. So this week we're going to try to establish more of a running threat, get Kenneth Jones going, who's one of our top running backs. He didn't have that many carries. I think last week the way Stevenson defended us against the run, it forced us to pass a little bit more. So hopefully if the team's going to load up 7, 8 in the box, then we're going to pass. If they're not, then we're going to run. It's as simple as that.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you joining us. Thank you for previewing this upcoming game against Harper Woods. We look forward to it. 7 o'clock this Friday at the Swamp. Pregame about 6:30 on Civic Center TV and across our network. CivicCenterTV.com/LakersSports for all of that. That is going to do it for this week in Laker football. We'll be back next week and throughout the season, every week before every West Bloomfield football game for a preview and a look back at the previous week's game. Big thank you to all of our sponsors, including the Orchard Mall and Premier Pet Supply and more. CivicCenterTV.com/ads if you'd like to join in on all the fun. Until then, I'm Tyler Kieft alongside Tyrice Grice, head coach of the West Bloomfield Lakers, and this has been This Week in Laker Football.